Hello everyone and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel where we're all about things tech. Today we're going to take a look at another top end, or I would call it very desirable Linux distribution. I believe we've looked at this before, but it's worth a relook. This is Linux Lite version 3.6. Linux Lite aims to be a beginner-friendly Linux distribution based on Ubuntu, and in this case, this version 3.6 is based on the Ubuntu 16.04 LTS release. It includes a few tweaks and perks. For example, it has a tool which allows you to make it easier to select nearby sources for faster downloads, much like you can do with Pacman in Arch-based Linux distributions, where it will search and rank different repositories based on geography and speed, which is great for quick updates. There is one caveat with this. Light Sources, as it's called, the tool is called, does not include Ubuntu repositories or software. This is only for Linux Lite created applications, for example, Lite Welcome, Lite Tweaks, Lite Software, etc. I believe this might be changed in the future. If it hasn't been already, you can correct me down below if it has, which would be great actually. It also contains a new tool to help search within documentation. Those who've used Linux for a while understand that there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pages of documentation for the various software packages and kernel itself. And this would be a welcome tool for those who have to dig through documentation to find exactly what they're looking for. Okay. It has another new feature. It includes both an online and offline search engine for Linux Lite Help Manual, which is very useful as well. Out of the box, Linux Lite ships with kernel 4.40.9398. Custom kernels are also available via the Linux Lite repository for version 3.13 to 4.12. Now that's out of the box. As per usual, with my overviews and reviews of Linux distributions, I've performed an install, and just prior to putting this on YouTube, I have performed all the updates necessary, so you get a fresh look at what it would be like to use the Linux distribution at the time of the posting of this video. So let's keep a look around. A few more things. Linux Lite 3.6 includes better Blu-ray support, new theme for Thunderbird, better Broadcom wireless support, Lite upgrade, I'll show you that later, and Lite Welcome has some minor GUI changes. So let's look into it. This is the desktop, quite simple. Let's go first with this Linux Lite Welcome, which is excellent, by the way. You can do a lot of things from in this box right here that pops up as soon as you boot up. Here we have install updates, install drivers, you can set a restore point, and you can install language support. Of course, you have online support, you have the help manual, which comes in a web page. Look at this, very nice. Installing software, very well done, very well done. You have the forums and the hardware database. You can contribute, you can code, donate, shop, social media, whatnot. Install updates, install drivers. Again, I went through all of that. So this is pretty comprehensive and a very newbie-friendly feature, which I like very much. It works very well. And I love how the help manual comes, and it looks very easy to navigate. Very good. Excellent. I wish more Linux distributions would come out with something like that. So that's what we have at startup. The desktop is quite sparse. All we have on it is the help manual up here, which of course we've seen before, which opens up in a web browser. As you've seen, Firefox is the default web browser for Linux Lite, which is great. But as with any other Linux, you can twist it, bend it, and shape it any way you want. Right-clicking on the desktop brings up a nice selection of options. Create launcher, create link, create folder, create document, open terminal here. Task manager, Shows you what's going on with respect to system resources and usage. Screenshot, take a screenshot, open as administrator. The file manager will open as administrator, and if we look carefully, we'll notice that the file manager is Thunar version 1.6.11. Very capable file manager, used in many other Linux distributions. Search here, arrange desktop icons, desktop settings, we'll get to that later. Properties, of course, and here we also have the application menu. So there's two places at least where we can have the application menu. Let's go down to the bottom right of the taskbar. We have two virtual screens, main and secondary. We have the icon for the network connections where we can set up VPN, enable networking, disable, and whatnot. And we have the sound. We can select the volume sliders as we want. And we also have direct access to the sound settings, playback, recording, output devices, input devices, and configuration. Very good. We also have the clock, which pulls up a calendar. Right-clicking, we can also select the properties of each of these elements. And we can see we can also add things or elements. Right-clicking anywhere in the empty taskbar brings up the same thing. So let's look into what's here. Here we have the command line, which will pop up. We have the, again, Thunar file manager, very capable. We have Firefox, which is our default. This is Firefox 55.02, 64-bit. Mozilla Firefox for Ubuntu. This is the version post update that ships, so we're happy with that. And we have the icon to show the desktop. So let's get into the menu real quick. Here we have the favorites right away. We have the help manual on Linux updates. So to install updates, you continue to proceed, type in your password, and it would check updating software sources and tell you whether or not you have updates. Being, as I mentioned before, that we've already completed the updates, it'll show that the system is up to date, which is great. We have recently used apps. We have all apps. Let's go into My Computer, Home, Documents, Music. Of course, we have the file system that's already there. Things that are set up for us. Let's take a quick look at that. So we have these pre-configured folders: desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, and videos, which is a good selection, and most people can get by on just those. You can add whatever you want. We have the settings. We'll get into that soon. Accessories. Here we have Application Finder, Archive Manager, whatnot, Backups Calculator, and all that. Screenshots, Terminal, Text Editor. Nothing out of the ordinary, but everything that you would need to get up and running right away, which is an obvious strength of Linux Lite. For graphics, we have GIMP, we have the image viewer, and we have the scanner. So that's great. Internet, Firefox, network connections, manage your network connections as part of the settings. So that's good. Support, of course, and Thunderbird. So Mozilla, Firefox, and Thunderbird are included. So right away you can be productive with respect to surfing, getting your emails, and whatnot. Multimedia, CD burner, CD burning application, no burners detected. And it comes with XFburn version 0.5.4, which is great. Very capable, somewhat simple, but very capable. I find these days less and less need to burn CDs as flash drives are extremely cheap and just as capable. VLC media player is included, and we have the volume control. So here we have the mixer and whatnot. So we've seen that before. As with most Linux distributions that have passed through my hands, there are many ways to do one thing, or many avenues to get to the same destination. So let's go to Office. Fantastic. LibreOffice is included by default. Version 5.1.6.2. Pretty up to date. So right away you can start with your Office documents. You have a PDF viewer also included. You have system tools. Lite software, an easy tool to install and remove software. I always like to update the software sources. So here we have install or get rid of software. And here's just a quick way to install software that you might be interested in. Some more potentially more difficult to get software. I don't really think so, but what it looks like, a lot of this stuff, we have video editing, weather monitor, webcam, wine. It's just a quick access to Dropbox is here, Chromium web browsers here. Audacity, Calibre, very good. Clementine, which is probably my favorite music player under Linux. KeepPassX, of course, with Password Manager, Pinta, a lot of different things here. Remote desktop software, Remina, Shotwell is here. So we have a lot of things. Spotify, Steam, TeamViewer is here. Very good. So we can get out of that. Could also remove software if we wish. Create a system report, which will, search through your system about your hardware and whatnot and create a report. Install, remove, and upgrade software packages. This is just Synaptic Package Manager. So we can install pretty much anything here and get what we need. Again, it shows all the install packages. Install auto-removable, local and obsolete, install manual, not installed, everything else, and not installed residual config. So a lot of things here that we can do, which we've seen in many other Linux distributions. Light tweaks. This is interesting. This is a tool. I found that to keep your system running at the optimal levels, we can do stuff such as let's look with boot up fix, restore boot splash to Linux Lite, free up memory on your system, default web browser, set your default web browser, display disk usage, display, Firefox cache, clean the cache, hibernate, hide or show these buttons, host name, you can change the host name, kernel installer, install specific kernels you wish to boot from. This is a nice thing, not necessarily a newbie feature, but something that a seasoned Linux user would like. Kernel remover, remove kernels you no longer wish to boot from. Locate large files, find files based on file ranges, log archives, login and logout options. Okay. Manage save sessions. Numlock package cache, so you can free up your package cache. Package system repair, restore the package management system to default. Preload apps. Fetch commonly used apps into memory for faster startup times. Very interesting if you have enough RAM in your system. Thumbnail cache. Whisker menu. You can remove 9 recently used items from your whisker menu. And ZRAM. More efficient use of memory, especially on older computers. Interesting. So this tool, which is Linux Lite specific, or I should say they made it themselves, seems like it can do a lot of stuff in here. Not necessarily for the complete newbie, but very reasonable stuff that you can do in here. With otherwise, you'd have to drop to the CLI command line interface in other Linux distributions. So that's pretty interesting. Login settings, network share settings. So this it's basically a front end for Samba, and you can go in there and edit the file and edit the settings and whatnot for file sharing. So that's interesting. Of course, we have a partition manager, NTFS configuration tool, and enable or disable write support for NTFS with a click. Printer setup, which is your typical printer setup dialog box I've seen so many times. So that should be pretty easy. Resource usage, that's your, looks like top or something to that effect, showing you what resources we're using. And you can kill active applications using that and whatnot. Share hardware configuration, with the community, system back, simple system backup and restore, system information, system log, and task manager. See all the stuff that's running. So let's check out the settings, and we'll go there. We'll go to the settings tool, the settings manager. Here we have a settings manager, as we've seen in a few other Linux, well, many other Linux distributions these days, which makes Linux a lot easier to use for those who don't want to dig into the command line. So we have Lite User Manager. Anything that starts with Lite is software that they've created, the developers of Lite have created themselves. And here we have, you can put the user in different groups, change the password and whatnot. Desktop settings, some really nice backgrounds that we can choose, and it's done instantly in real time. Look at that. There's something I have to mention about the performance of Lite, but I'll save that for the end. Some really high quality backgrounds here, right out of the box. Very impressive. Go back to all settings. So we have Windows Manager tweaks, workspaces, display settings, touchpad, power manager, keyboard, removable, preferred applications, firewall configuration, Lite upgrade. This is a tool when a new version of Linux Lite comes out and you want to upgrade the whole distribution, and it's not just upgrading packages or looking for these smaller updates. This is when you want to upgrade the whole distribution to the latest version. There is a tool built in for it. Now, I am running the latest version fully updated, so it's going to tell me you are already running the latest release. So that's fine. So that makes it very easy to keep up to date with the latest Linux Lite releases. That being said, there is some caution that you have to exercise when using this tool. But for the most part, most people will benefit if you're the kind of person who just wants to stay up to date all the time with everything. So we have Bluetooth adapters, accessibility, firewall, session, and startup. And of course, we have help down here. I'm going to get out of that. It asks you if you want to read online, and you can get the documentation. So that's it. A pretty quick look around. After the upgrade or update, I can see that we're no longer running the default kernel that was there before, which was 44093. Now we're running 44097. So that's been upgraded. So that's pretty cool. And we've already looked at Thunar, so we won't go back there, which I just did. So all in all, my conclusion. Now, this is just a quick workaround. I don't pretend in any way, shape, or form that the actual experience using a particular Linux distribution can be summarized in a 10-minute video. But what I can tell you is that Linux Lite, much like Solus, which I reviewed before, if you check back on the most previous videos I've posted prior to this one, is an excellent choice for someone who just wants to run Linux without much muss and fuss, get into it, be productive almost immediately, and have a fantastic experience. This is a distribution which holds your hand, yet lets you fly free if you want to. It comes prepackaged with all the software the majority of us would need to become productive immediately after installation. It is very pleasing to use, and its selection of software is also very, very well thought out by the developers. They just didn't throw some arbitrary stuff at you. What they've included is some very good quality software, and on that I give this an A+. Fantastic. Performance. It is running in a virtual machine for the purposes of this video, but I also have Linux Lite working on real hardware, an old Pentium 4 HT hyper-threaded, 32-bit by the way, because that processor is not 64-bit capable, and with an old 500 gig hard drive, and I have to tell you the performance is more than acceptable for daily tasks. It's absolutely more than acceptable, and that's running with only 2 gigs of RAM. So it is very light on resources. It's a pun right there. And we're only using 11% of the memory allocated, which is 4 gigabytes that was allocated to this. So that's pretty good, actually. Swap 0. So immediately we can see that Linux Lite is very easy on system resources, runs very quickly. I can tell you from the Pentium 4 experience. Right behind me, I have it running. And I would recommend this distribution wholeheartedly. If you're thinking about going to Linux Mint or even just straight Ubuntu or whatnot, I would urge you to give a look at Linux Lite, a serious look, if you want to get into Linux and poke around and become productive immediately and see how easy and productive you can be using Linux versus Windows per se. So that's my look at Linux Lite. 2 thumbs up all the way around. Rates very highly, right up there with Solus. 2 Linux distributions which I would absolutely tell you to look at if you're looking to get into Linux. In particular, if you have an older machine, Linux Lite might even be a better choice, given that there are still 32-bit, there's still a 32-bit version of it versus Solus, which has moved over completely to 64-bit. But that, of course, is dependent upon which hardware you want to put this on. If you do have a 64 capable CPU like a Core 2 Duo or whatnot, or something of that regard, then I would say it's a toss-up between the two. I really would. Fantastic distribution. So take care. Check us out below. Link us. There are some links below. We'd love you to check out for those people who build, modify PCs and like to talk about PC hardware in a no-stress, zealot-free environment. We have the PC Construction Zone group on Facebook. We also have technology and computer enthusiasts for general technology talk on Facebook, and you can check out our company at Silicon Nubian on Facebook. Take care. Subscribe if you wish, please. Tell others about this group, this channel, I should say. Spread the word, and we'll see you soon.